I read somewhere and I realized that, we don't have a hype. It's not how we shout it. It's not even how we tell it. It is the power of the altar from where we stand. It is enabled by the priesthood in which we have been called to serve. So these things, it's not about how well we do it. It is about confessing them, declaring them, enforcing them. Sometimes I even say, shout into the air, speak these things into the air. We all have come to understand the role of our priesthood and the importance of us. I'll be showing you briefly that without this priesthood that functions in the earth, God has lost it. It doesn't matter how powerful the rulings are. It doesn't matter how powerful the judgments from the throne are. If God doesn't have functional priests who are standing in a functional altar, God has already lost it. Already the verdicts will remain inactive because they are made active. You see, this word we use, enforcement. The word enforcement simply means to activate it, to give it life, to make it a reality. So if God has made a verdict, if God has said in all our 9 verdicts, if God has said one thing and there is no enforcement, that thing becomes nothing. So to enforce, it means to activate it. It means to execute it. And it is executed by spoken words. There's nothing that you need to do. You only need to stand as a priest and systems will crack. It's only that it doesn't work because number one, we're not conscious we are priests. We had destroyed the priesthood. Number 2, we had bypassed the altar. And we are not ministering from an earthly altar. We are ministering from the eternal altar. Our priesthood is not ceremonial. Our priesthood is judicial. We are standing right where the judgments are being made. We are standing right there where the verdicts are being spoken. And we turn on one side and present our petitions. But we turn on this other side and proclaim the rulings that we heard from the throne. And that's the word enforcement. To enforce, it means to make it a reality. To remove it from an unseen reality, to bring it to seen reality, to bring it to manifestation. The word enforcement means to execute it, to manifest it, to execute it, to manifest it, to make it seen in the earth. And God himself can't do that. God cannot make it seen in the earth. It is his priests who make it seen in the earth. To have a priesthood that is quiet, to have a priesthood that is silent, to have a priesthood that is not in its legal standing. It doesn't matter how many verdicts will come from the throne. They will never have reality of life in the earth. They will never manifest themselves in the earth. And that's why we are talking about registrative priesthood that operates in 2 ways. Number 1, it can petition the throne. It can petition at the altar. We can petition based on the covenant. To petition is actually to declare our rights. To petition is to ask, why is this thing happening to us, yet we are covenant sons? Why is this thing happening to us, yet the blood is the major verdict of our lives? Why is this happening to me, yet the cross is the verdict of verdicts? When you are standing before God and presenting your case, that is number 1 registration, petitioning according to the blood, not according to your feelings, not according to the bigness of your circumstance. You are petitioning according to the power that you understand the blood is. Petitioning according to how you understand the cross is. To petition based on understanding the power of the covenant. And you are speaking at the altar. And you are petitioning. You are petitioning for your rights. You are petitioning for your promises. You are petitioning for your inheritance because it is already given. You are not petitioning if it is not given. You cannot do a petition at the courts there if the thing is not yours. You petition because you know it is yours, it is declared. You know, you have your mountains, like that song we have sung. That mountain, we are singing it, but we are petitioning the throne. That it doesn't matter how high my mountain is, and it doesn't matter how low my valley is. The blood will never lose its power. I am petitioning the power of the blood over my mountains, over my situation. And that is number one, registration. So I am registrating, facing the altar, facing the throne, you know, backed by covenant, backed by the blood, backed by the cross, backed by my legal standing. I am petitioning, I am registrating. But the other aspect of registrating, you know, when you petition facing the throne, you are petitioning for a verdict. Once the verdict or the decree or the ruling has been released, it must be enforced in the earth. And that's where you come to the second aspect of registration. And that requires priests. And that's why I said on Sunday, all of us are priests. It doesn't matter how powerful the ruling was. It only has life when it is enforced by the priests. And we will be speaking today about the registration through the spoken word. That other one was registration based on the covenant, on the blood, you petitioning. That's a registration in petitioning. This other one, after the court has ruled, you stand as a priest. That ruling, if it must work in the earth, if it must be a reality in the earth, if it really must work in the midst of men, if it really must overthrow systems in the earth, if really it has to bring a breakthrough, if really it has to change your circumstance, if really it, by the other aspect of enforcement is to impose that you are having this ruling, but you are coming to impose it in the earth. And it is imposed through the mouth of the priest. It is imposed in the earth. To impose is to force it in the earth. And you don't force it by any force. You force it by just standing in the altar. And to proclaim, to align your speaking, to align your words, to align your enforcement, align it to the ruling. Align it to the ruling. As you stand at the altar, you are a priest accepted at the altar. You have a ruling you have had. When you petition, the court ruled. And you see, what came from the court is not yet final until it is spoken. In the same way, in a court and before a judge, the judge can write a ruling. But before it is spoken in a court, that ruling is not active. Before he pronounces or she pronounces it at the court, it has no life. It cannot jail anyone. It cannot arrest anyone. It cannot release any property. Even if the judge has the ruling based on the law, but it only has life. It becomes active. It becomes powerful when that same judge stands at his or her altar, which is the court, and pronounces the judgment by loud words, very clear words, speaking loudly that this is the ruling. When that one is done, sets the system of enforcement in place. There will be police warden to arrest you if the ruling is about your jail term. If there is if your ruling is to be hanged, the hanger is around to arrest you, that system to go and hang you. But all that would not happen if it wasn't pronounced. And so the problem we have had all these years is that our voice has not been heard. It's never heard in the courts. And we said on Sunday that was one of the traversities of the fall of Adam, that his voice was no longer heard in the courts because he ruled by his voice. He ruled by pronouncing the rulings. He ruled by pronouncing the judgments. That's why the earth could obey. That's why there were no thistles and thorns. That's why the earth obeyed him. The animals obeyed him. Because he had a voice of proclamation. And the voice of proclamation is just echoing, declaring, aligning his speech, aligning his declarations with the rulings that came from the courts. We said Eden was a court, the true court. But when he was cast out of that garden, the guy is no longer in the courts. The guy is no longer a priest. The guy is no longer a king. The guy is no longer has no legal standing. And therefore, whatever he says out there, that's why we are saying sweat replaced verdicts. Whatever verdicts would produce miraculously or automatically or divinely or supernaturally, whatever would be produced supernaturally, because as a priest, he pronounced, he spoke loudly, his voice was heard as he enforced, and whatever he enforced is what was governing the earth. Whatever he has enforced is what shifted empires, shifted nations, shifted history, overturned altars that were illegal if there were any. It is what he was speaking in the altar. And that's why we are saying our priesthood is our priesthood of confession. That's why the Bible says, beloved, having been called to partake of the heavenly calling, remember Jesus Christ, the apostle and the high priest of our confession. Because even him, whatever he does in his high priest role in the eternal altar, his work, that's just what I've just said in the prayer. He initiated the covenant, but he is also the executor. So he initiated, he paid all the price, and he sealed, the covenant was sealed by his blood. But God also turned to him and told him, you did not just initiate, I make you the executor. I make you the enforcer. I make you the administrator. But you have a whole priesthood line. Because whatever you decree in heaven above, if you don't have a priesthood in the earth, that thing hangs in the air, remains inactive. It will never work. It will never come to the realm of men. It will never come to human existence. It will not change your captivity. It will not change your life. It will not turn situations around. And the only gap that the enemy has manipulated all these years is, number one, take away the voice of the priest. Number one, actually, remove the blood. That's why our courtroom commissioning is powerful. We return to the blood. It says, remove the cross so that they don't live by the verdicts of the cross. Yeah? Then kill the priesthood. Let them call each other sir and madam. Let them use the earthly titles. In fact, let them name themselves by the gifts. So you call them an apostle, you call them a pastor, you call them evangelist, you call them prophet, you call them everything, but you never call them a priest. The best person is an apostle who is a priest first. Because apostle is execution. Prophet is execution. Evangelism is execution of something, but you must be a priest first. So kill the priesthood so that there's no voice. And I told you on Sunday, look at this guy called Zechariah. He had to be exited from the altar because he is mute. He is not aligning to the covenant. He's not aligning to whatever God is declaring at that time. There is a ruling that there should be a baby boy born in the earth. And the baby boy will be called John. And that name supersedes your traditions. It is a new thing that I'm doing in the earth. And the guy doubted it. The next thing, you are mute. You will never speak until the moment you will align with the rulings of the covenant, with the rulings from the throne. Until the time you align with the verdicts that came from a meeting somewhere in the throne. Because whatever is being pronounced in the earth is ratified by the blood. Even these 9 rulings that we have, nobody should think that this is just a creation of someone. Whatever is in the 9 rulings is ratified by the blood. It is ratified at the altar. It is ratified by the priesthood. It is ratified by the covenant. It is empowered. You are not speaking your words. When you are pronouncing or enforcing those rulings, you are not speaking your words. You are enforcing whatever the blood has been able to ratify. To ratify is to put in motion, to say, to make legitimate. You know, these are not our words. And that's why I'm saying, coming next year, our services, I'm already getting really tired of because sometimes I don't know whether I'm still in performance or I'm standing in the correct priesthood. And there are 2 systems fighting within me. 2 systems fighting. And you know, when there's such a fight on the inside of you, there's no life. And sometimes the thought that there is an altar that is active. I serve at the eternal altar in heaven above. And I have now been taught to know that my business is so easy. You see, my business is to enforce. Number 1, to petition and to enforce. To petition and to enforce, where I need a ruling. To petition is like something has happened, and probably I am just standing as a priest, and I want to petition based on the covenant. But the worst thing that we did, we destroyed the priesthood. We destroyed the priesthood and promoted gifts of men. We replaced priesthood with the gifts of men. Number 2, we replaced altar. We replaced altar with charismatic zeal. Zeal. Drama nyingi. Charismatic zeal. Charisma is a gift, the zeal of a gift. So they didn't emphasize the altar. They emphasized your charisma. We replaced the blood with emotional zeal. And I need to cry so much here and groan so much here. That will never replace the blood. The blood will never be replaced by emotions of men. Your emotions do nothing. It doesn't trigger anything in the courts. It's not a registration. You tell me, go to the high court and begin to cry. Begin to be emotional at the court and tell me whether that's a registration at the courts. And we replaced covenant with human strength. We removed human strength. We removed covenant and replaced it with human strength. And that's why we sweat so much. Because covenant should be the major provider in your life, not your sweat. And the last thing, we replaced verdicts with pulpit. We replaced verdicts with sermons. That we cannot, why should I not spend more time in the 9 verdicts that came from the throne, ratified by the blood? Rulings, verdicts stand as a priest to just implement them in the earth, because they will never be. Why should I waste a lot of time teaching and all doing all this stuff? And I told you on Sunday, I'm only doing this because we need to be equalized in understanding. We need to understand where we are headed after this. And that's why I'm longing for January. Because the service will just be starting like the way it started. We're just reading verdicts, we're reading things. And all of us are declaring, are coming around that. All of us are saying, let it be written, let it be enforced. It's another way of saying amen. Someone just come and says, oh, this and this happened in the course of the week. I have a testimony that this scroll is at work. This scroll is at work. It is digging, it is making us to get waters from the boreholes. You know, it's only this week I told Michael I want a borehole in the church. They dug for 2-3 days. 33 feet down, water began to come out. Only at 33 feet, the water is already gushing out. Yesterday, they couldn't continue with further digging because the water, by the time they are down there digging, the water was at 4 feet. So the water is gushing out of that borehole. And that's a scroll testimony. It's a testimony that the scroll is working. So I think we should be spending more time with these verdicts. Spend more time with these rulings. Come back, enforce them. Come back, take our priesthood role and declare when we read it, let it be enforced. Let it be written. Amen. Let it be. Let that thing impose. You can already see covenant has taken over. Michael was telling me, you see we dug a toilet here, just about here where Brian has parked his car. But you see, there was no sign of water. And I told Michael, that was not covenant land yet. But the moment we did courtroom commissioning, returned to the covenant, everything now flows through covenant. I even have an explosion of the same in my own house, my own compound. I have so much water already. At only shallow pit that is only 50 feet. And one wonders. So these things are working. But they lack enforcers. It's a plan of the enemy to shut your beak, Mokanye, to shut your mouth. That you do not take your priesthood role. Your work is easy. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to be excited about it. You don't have to be emotional about it. Your work is so easy. You position yourself at the altar. Align your speech with the verdicts that comes from the throne. Now, this was a very serious verdict. And I want us to look at this before I go back to Adam a bit. I need to go back to Adam and we clear that business. I'm happy that you are also you have discovered more about counterfeit codes in your GFs meetings, and you will continue next week and even the other week. There's an assignment for the other week. I want you now to discover the existence of counterfeit codes within the global systems of the earth. I want you to see how the enemy is governing politically, economically, culturally, and socially through the same. The script is still the same. Manipulate the saints. The script is still the same. There's no other way. It's still the same script. In what the Bible describes as the great prostitute. In Revelation 17:18, that the kings of the earth have drunk of her madness. They are intoxicated by her verdicts. The kings of the earth governing without scrolls. The priesthood in the earth has already been destroyed. In the earth as we speak today, is so much spiritual activity but no priesthood. A priesthood is destroyed. And the moment you destroy priesthood, God is at loss. He has no one to enforce his verdicts. Yes? He has no one to enforce his verdicts. So that other assignment will help us to step out of our smallness, because some of us now, you think of counterfeit courts, you think of counterfeit verdicts, the intimidation, the rejection, the resistance, you only think it at a personal level. I want us to see this thing at a macro level, where the same system corrupts economy. The same system defiles the politics. But you see, there's a declaration, there's a verdict from the throne. Come out of her, my people. Come out of her. What you call Babylon. What you call Babylon is counterfeit system that has counterfeit courts, that has counterfeit verdicts, that is activated by human blood, that is sustained by sweat, sustained by competition, that is sustained by all those things that we are saying in the personal application of the wrong or falsehoods.